For the most part, our view of this cosmic ocean is one of serene predictability, a steady procession of familiar stars and planets. Yet, the year 2025 is poised to present a celestial spectacle of a truly unusual nature, a grand exception to the quiet norm. It promises a convergence that defies statistical probability, inviting us to pause our terrestrial concerns and turn our gaze upward in quiet contemplation. During the autumn month of October, a remarkable procession of 7 distinct comets will make their close approach to the Sun, all arriving within a narrow and astonishingly crowded window of just 30 days. To truly appreciate the rarity of this gathering, one must understand the typical cadence of the heavens. A normal year might grace our skies with the fleeting presence of only 2 or 3 such bright visitors. Their lonely journeys are welcome but infrequent punctuation in the darkness. The autumn of 2025, however, will host a veritable congregation of these ethereal travelers, a cosmic assembly that transforms the night sky into a stage for a truly exceptional period in celestial mechanics, all orchestrated by the silent, invisible hand of gravity. This gathering of cosmic wanderers is made all the more intriguing by its diverse composition. 6 of these visitors are natives of our own solar system, long-lost children of our Sun returning from the desolate outer frontiers. They are envoys from the Oort cloud, a vast and theoretical sphere of icy bodies that encircles our solar system at an unimaginable distance, a frozen reservoir of primordial matter left over from the dawn of its creation. Their journeys have lasted millennia, spent in a state of deep cold and darkness. But now their long, elliptical paths are bringing them home. They are joined, however, by a 7th visitor of a much more enigmatic origin, a transient guest from an entirely different star system, known to us as 3I/ATLAS. The simultaneous appearance of so many bright comets, especially with the inclusion of a traveler from beyond our solar family, is an event that challenges our understanding of cosmic cycles and patterns. It is a statistical whisper, a fluke of celestial timing so improbable that it forces us to reconsider the seemingly random distribution of these objects throughout the galaxy. This impending event serves as a profound reminder that the universe, while governed by steadfast laws, is also a dynamic and ever-changing place. It is a realm where moments of incredible rarity can and do occur, orchestrated over unfathomable distances and eons of time, culminating in a spectacle of silent, transient beauty. Among the 7 celestial pilgrims gracing our skies, one in particular stands apart, a messenger from an unknown and impossibly distant shore. This object, designated 3I/ATLAS, is not bound by the gravitational pull of our Sun in the same way its companions are. It is a true interstellar visitor, a fragment of another solar system that has journeyed across the vast, empty expanse that separates the stars. For millions, perhaps even billions of years, it has drifted through the interstellar medium, a near-perfect vacuum filled with tenuous gas and dust, in a state of cold and isolation that the human mind can scarcely comprehend. Its arrival is a momentary intersection of its lonely path with our own, a fleeting encounter with a piece of a world that formed and evolved around a distant, alien star. The trajectory of this interstellar object is the unambiguous signature of its exotic nature, for it follows a hyperbolic path through our solar system. Unlike the familiar, repeating elliptical orbits of our native comets, which are forever bound to our Sun in a closed loop, a hyperbolic trajectory is a path of entry and of exit. It is a course that is open, a one-time passage through our corner of the galaxy. This means that after its brief and fiery encounter with the warmth of our Sun, it will be flung back out into the interstellar void by the Sun's gravity, continuing its endless journey among the stars, never to return. We can only speculate about its origins, wondering what distant sun it once called it. Its passage is a transient whisper from the greater galaxy, a rare and invaluable opportunity to study a piece of matter that is fundamentally alien to our own cosmic neighborhood. What secrets does it hold within its frozen heart? Does it carry a chemical composition different from the comets of our own system, a clue to the unique conditions of its birthplace? These are questions that astronomers will race to answer during its brief appearance, for it represents a physical sample delivered from another star, a gift from the cosmos that allows us, for a moment, to touch the substance of a place we can otherwise only imagine. Its presence among the other 6 comets elevates this celestial gathering from a simple curiosity to an event of profound scientific and philosophical significance. These 7 travelers, both the familiar and the alien, are currently coasting as dark and silent objects through the profound cold of deep space. For now, they are little more than frozen relics, inert collections of ice and dust that have slumbered for millennia on their long journey from the darkness. But as they fall ever closer to the immense and radiating power of our Sun, a spectacular transformation is set to begin. This journey from the cold void into the vibrant heart of the solar system will stir them from their ancient sleep, triggering a magnificent and luminous change. It is a process of awakening, a slow and graceful unfolding that will turn a simple frozen rock into one of the most sublime and beautiful sights the heavens have to offer. Far from the warmth of any star, in the desolate, silent depths of the outer solar system, a comet exists in a state of profound and ancient slumber. In this distant realm, it is a simple inert object, a frozen nucleus composed of primordial ice, dust, and rock, drifting through a darkness that is almost absolute. This is a world of unimaginable cold, where temperatures hover only a few degrees above the final stillness of absolute zero. Here, the comet is a time capsule, a preserved relic from the very dawn of our solar system, over 4.5 billion years ago. The materials locked within its frozen heart are the same building blocks from which the planets were formed, held in a state of perfect, unchanging suspension for eons. Its long, lonely journey through this frigid void can last for untold millennia, a silent passage through a celestial graveyard of forgotten worlds. But this state of perfect dormancy is not eternal. An imperceptible gravitational nudge, perhaps from a passing star tens of thousands of years ago, may have been all it took to alter its stable orbit and begin a new, inexorable journey. This is a fall that takes place in slow motion, a gradual descent over countless centuries toward the distant, beckoning point of light that is our Sun. For most of this journey, nothing changes. The comet remains a dark, frozen rock, indistinguishable from the blackness around it. But as it crosses the invisible threshold into the inner solar system, the environment begins a slow and subtle transformation. The utter emptiness of deep space begins to give way to the first faint whispers of the Sun's influence, a tenuous but persistent solar wind that marks the outer boundary of our star's domain. The first true sign of the comet's awakening begins when it is still immensely far from the Sun, in a region where a human observer would feel no warmth at all. The intense solar radiation, traveling unimpeded through the vacuum of space, begins to gently bathe the comet's surface. This faint energy is enough to stir the most volatile ices trapped within its nucleus. Compounds like frozen carbon dioxide, methane, and ammonia. These substances have a much lower freezing point than water, and they begin to sublimate, turning directly from a solid into a gas. This is the comet's first breath after eons of stillness, a quiet exhalation that begins to create a barely perceptible, ultra-thin atmosphere. On the surface, ancient fissures, sealed for millennia, may begin to show signs of stress as this nascent pressure builds from within. As the comet continues its relentless plunge toward the Sun, this process accelerates into a spectacle of immense power and beauty. The solar energy intensifies exponentially, and the warmth begins to penetrate deeper into the nucleus, reaching the vast reservoirs of water ice locked within. Now, the true awakening begins. The sublimation becomes a violent and explosive event. The pressure of the vaporizing gas builds beneath the dark, insulating crust of dust until it can no longer be contained. With tremendous force, it bursts forth in powerful, concentrated jets of gas and dust, erupting from fissures and weak points on the comet's surface. These majestic plumes, like a chain of silent, slow-motion geysers, shoot out into the surrounding space, carrying with them the ancient, primordial dust that has been locked away within the ice since the solar system's birth. This continuous and powerful outflow of material does not simply dissipate into the void. Instead, it forms a vast, glowing atmosphere around the comet's nucleus, an ethereal shroud known as the coma. This transient, luminous cloud of gas and particles begins to expand, growing to an astonishing and almost unbelievable size. The coma can swell to be tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of kilometers in diameter, an atmospheric sphere that can easily dwarf entire planets like Jupiter, all originating from a solid nucleus that may be only a few kilometers across. This immense and tenuous cloud becomes a celestial mirror, catching the light of the distant sun and scattering it in all directions. It is this reflected sunlight, shining from countless trillions of tiny dust particles, that gives the comet its spectacular brightness as we perceive it from Earth. Hidden deep within this magnificent, glowing halo lies the comet's true heart, the small, dark nucleus that is the engine of this entire spectacle. It remains forever unseen, completely veiled by the very atmosphere it is creating. This solid core of ice and rock continues its frantic activity, rotating slowly as it travels, exposing different regions of its surface to the intense solar heat. This causes the jets of gas and dust to erupt from different locations, often changing the shape and brightness of the coma from one day to the next. The nucleus is a world of constant, silent violence, a place where the surface is continuously eroding and collapsing as its ancient ices are blasted away into space, a process that will eventually lead to the comet's own demise over many thousands of orbits. The creation of the coma, however, is only the beginning of the comet's transformation. This immense cloud of gas and dust, born from the heart of the awakening nucleus, is now fully exposed to the relentless forces of the solar environment. The same solar energy and solar wind that gave birth to this glowing sphere do not cease their work here. They extend their influence much further, beginning to sculpt this raw material into even more dramatic and iconic forms. These forces will sweep through the coma, sorting its contents and pushing them outward to create the comet's magnificent tails, the long flowing appendages that serve as a visible record of its dynamic and constant interaction with the power of our sun. As the vast glowing coma envelops the cometary nucleus, it becomes a canvas upon which the sun itself begins to paint. This luminous cloud of gas and dust, born from the violent sublimation of ancient ice, is now fully subject to two powerful and relentless forces that flow eternally outward from our star. These forces are the twin sculptors of the cosmos, the solar wind, a supersonic river of charged particles, and the far gentler but equally persistent pressure of sunlight itself. Working in concert, they begin to comb through the material of the coma, sorting its contents and pushing them far out into space, to form not one, but typically two separate and magnificent tails. These ethereal appendages, stretching for millions of kilometers, are the comet's crowning glory, a visible testament to its dynamic and ongoing conversation with the sun. An immediate and striking consequence of this process is that a comet's tails are not like a trail left behind it. They do not mark where the comet has been. Instead, they are always pushed directly away from the sun. This means that as a comet loops around our star and begins its long journey back toward the cold and darkness of deep space, it is often preceded by its own magnificent, streaming tails. It flies onward into the void, yet its luminous banners stretch out before it, a beautiful and counterintuitive paradox of celestial mechanics, forever pointing back toward the source of the energy that gave them life. The first of these tails to form is a broad, curving structure woven from the physical matter of the comet itself, the countless microscopic dust particles that were once trapped within the primordial ice. For eons, this dust lay dormant, a dark powder mixed with frozen gas. Now, liberated into the vacuum of space, these tiny motes of rock and carbon float freely within the coma. It is here that they encounter the more subtle of the two solar forces, the gentle but unyielding pressure of solar radiation. Each photon of sunlight, though massless, carries a tiny amount of momentum. As trillions upon trillions of these photons strike the surface of a dust particle, their combined impact creates a small but constant push, a silent, invisible pressure that slowly nudges the particle away from the sun. Because these dust particles are relatively heavy on a cosmic scale, and the force pushing them is gentle, they are not immediately swept away. They retain a great deal of their original orbital momentum, their inherent tendency to continue following the comet's own path around the sun. The result is a beautiful cosmic ballet. The particle tries to continue its forward journey with the nucleus, but it is simultaneously being pushed sideways and outward by the constant rain of light. This combination of forces causes the dust to drift away from the coma, lagging behind the nucleus and gradually forming a broad, diffuse, and gracefully curving tail. It often glows with a soft, yellowish-white light, for it is doing nothing more than reflecting the sunlight that illuminates it, much like motes of dust dancing in a sunbeam that pierces the quiet of a darkened room. This elegant arc of ancient material traces the comet's orbital path through the solar system, a silent, luminous scar on the black fabric of space. The second, more dramatic tail is forged in a process of pure energy and magnetism, a transformation that is both violent and beautiful. It begins with the most energetic component of sunlight, the fierce, invisible ultraviolet radiation. As this high-energy light bathes the coma, it strikes the gas molecules that have sublimated from the ice, molecules of water, carbon monoxide, and other volatile compounds. This is not a gentle push, but a powerful blow that is strong enough to strip electrons away from the atoms, a process called ionization. In an instant, a neutral gas molecule is transformed into an ion, a particle with a net positive electrical charge. The coma is no longer just a cloud of gas. It is now a plasma, a sea of electrically charged particles ready to interact with the sun's magnetic influence. It is at this moment that the second great solar force, the solar wind, takes center stage. This is not a wind in any terrestrial sense, but a continuous supersonic gale of protons and electrons flowing from the sun at hundreds of kilometers per second, carrying with it the sun's powerful magnetic field. As this magnetic wind sweeps past the comet, it ensnares the newly formed ions, capturing them in its invisible grip. The ions are then violently torn away from the coma and accelerated to incredible speeds, flung directly away from the sun. This process creates a much straighter, narrower, and more taut tail that points like a celestial spear directly away from the sun. It often glows with a ghostly, ethereal blue light, a result of fluorescence, as the energized ions release their excess energy as light of a specific wavelength. This otherworldly blue streamer is a far more dynamic structure than its dusty counterpart. It can exhibit intricate knots and streamers as it interacts with the turbulent solar wind. And, during an intense solar storm, the magnetic connection can be severed entirely, causing the ion tail to snap off and drift away into space, only to begin reforming from the coma moments later. These two distinct tails, one of dust and one of energy, tell two different stories of the comet's passage. The dust tail is a physical record of its journey, a graceful echo of its orbital path. The ion tail is a real-time indicator of the invisible solar environment, a fragile, glowing windsock showing the ever-changing direction of the solar wind. These fundamental principles, the gentle push of light and the powerful grip of magnetism, will be on full display in the autumn of 2025. With each of the 7 approaching comets, we will have a chance to witness these processes unfold, a magnificent and silent demonstration of the forces that shape our solar system. This period is marked by a particular and extraordinary concentration of activity during the month of October. This narrow window of time will see the peak brightness of several of these visitors, including C/2025 K1 Atlas and C/2025 A6 Lemmon, creating a celestial stage crowded with performers. They will be joined by the enigmatic interstellar guest, 3 I/ATLAS, which will also be at its most visible during this same period. This cosmic traffic jam is a truly remarkable event, a convergence in time and space that transforms the night sky into a slow, silent procession of ancient wanderers. Each is making its own unique journey through the heart of our solar system, their paths momentarily crossing in a spectacle that has been arranged by nothing more than the impartial and elegant laws of gravity. The simultaneous arrival of so many bright comets, especially when crowned by the presence of a rare interstellar object, is far more than a simple curiosity. It is a profound statistical anomaly. In the grand timeline of the cosmos, such events are distributed according to the cold, hard logic of probability, and the likelihood of this particular alignment is extraordinarily, almost vanishingly, low. Based on our current understanding of cometary orbits and the estimated density of interstellar objects drifting through our galaxy, the chance of such a dense convergence occurring within a single month has been calculated to be less than 1 in 30,000, and is perhaps as low as 1 in 100,000. To put this into perspective, it is a roll of the celestial dice so improbable that it is akin to a single person being struck by lightning multiple times in their life. Yet, the universe has been rolling these dice not for a single lifetime, but for over 13 billion years. Over that vast and almost incomprehensible sweep of astronomical time, even the most improbable events become not only possible, but inevitable. The autumn of 2025 simply represents one of those moments, where the silent, patient mechanics of the cosmos have produced a winning ticket in a lottery of immense proportions. It is a moment of pure cosmic serendipity, a random and beautiful alignment that we are, by sheer chance, privileged enough to exist in the same moment to witness. Whenever an event of such profound rarity occurs, it naturally inspires questions that stretch beyond the boundaries of conventional science. The sheer improbability of this cometary convergence could easily lead one to wonder if it is merely a coincidence, or if it might be a sign of something more, a pattern that implies a purpose. It is a deeply human impulse to search for meaning in the extraordinary, to see a guiding hand in events that defy our expectations of the ordinary. And so, the question, however quietly, arises: could this be something other than a natural phenomenon? It is a question that science does not dismiss, but rather addresses with the calm and methodical application of its tools. In the face of this extraordinary event, astronomers have done more than just watch. They have listened. Powerful radio telescopes, giant metallic ears pointed toward the heavens, have been aimed at these approaching visitors, straining to detect any hint of an artificial, structured signal amid the constant hiss of cosmic background radiation. The verdict from this intense scrutiny has been a profound and unbroken silence. Likewise, spectrographs have been used to carefully dissect the light emanating from their developing comets, breaking it down into a rainbow of its constituent parts to analyze their chemical makeup. These spectral fingerprints reveal no unusual or unexpected compounds, no industrial pollutants or exotic isotopes. Instead, they show only the familiar signatures of water, carbon compounds, and silicates, the simple, primordial building blocks of a solar system. Despite the extraordinary nature of the event, every piece of evidence gathered thus far points to a conclusion that is both humbling and magnificent. This is a natural phenomenon. The universe does not require a conscious designer to create moments of breathtaking beauty and statistical wonder. The silent dance of gravity, playing out over billions of years and across unimaginable distances, is fully capable of orchestrating such a spectacle on its own. And so, as these 7 travelers make their fleeting passage through our skies, we are left to observe a quiet miracle of chance. It is a beautiful and transient alignment that reminds us of the endless capacity for surprise hidden within the deep, silent, and unthinking workings of the cosmos itself.